Welcome to my German recipes. Today I will make a Bavarian crust roast with a beer sauce, and you can just tag along and see how I'm doing this. I do share this recipe on my blog here in this link, and you can print it, you can switch between the metric and the US customary measurements. You will find this link at the very end of the video too. So let's go through the ingredients. First of all, I have some meat here, and I was trying to get some pork belly. That's mission impossible. I didn't get any. I might have gotten some in Chinatown, but that's an hour of a drive, and I just didn't want to spend that time, to be honest. I got some shoulder here. It has a bit of a fat and skin layer here, but it's not as much as I would want to, but I have to make the best out of it, and I just hope that it's gonna turn out well anyway. So then I have some carrots, some root celery. As for the spices, I have salt, pepper, paprika, cumin, coriander, and oregano. Then I have some tomato paste. I will use some garlic and onion. I will use a little bit of honey. Instead of honey, you can also use some confectioner sugar and some beef broth. And then I need a beer, and I was very brave. I decided to shop local and got this Lone Star beer, which seems to be, according to the writing on the can, the national beer of Texas. So let's see. And I have a confession to make. I'm living in Texas for 12 years now, and I've never tried an American beer. So this will not be used entirely. So I will drink some of this beer later today in this video, and you can see my raw and natural reactions to it. So let's see how that turns out. All right, so in my first step, I want to make the crust of the roast soft. Since this is not really a thick layer of skin, it's probably not so much necessary, but I will do it anyway. So for that, I will use that pot that is right behind me, and it is covered with like an inch of water, which I will bring to a boil. And then I will put the meat with the skin side down into the pot and boil it for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, while the meat is boiling here, I'm preparing the vegetables. And I want to dice everything and get them in about the same size. Alright, so the meat has already cooked long enough, and I will now remove the meat from the pot and put it aside to cool a little, and then I will fry the vegetables in some oil. And once the vegetable has sauteed, I'm adding the tomato paste, and I'm sauteing it for like half a minute, and then I will add the broth and the beer. vegetables boil a little bit now, and I'm cutting the meat. So what I want to do is I want to have these squares on top, and I want these squares to be in the width of the slice so that I will cut from the meat later. And it's important to cut into the fat, but not into the meat, which is difficult in my case because this is not the proper meat. So it's hard to tell where things end. Do my best. So there's a layer of meat in between that fat layer. Oh, I guess it will turn out good anyway. So yeah, so this is the prepared meat. And now I'm gonna try the American beer. It has foam, that's a plus. Okay, let's try this. It's not bad. It's kind of, I don't know how to call it. It's like very soft. It's not my favorite drink, I think, but it's okay. You can drink it. I mean, if I don't get anything else somewhere, I'll have it. It's okay. It's not bad, but it's not super delicious. Sorry. I had a Korean beer actually. It's called Cool, and I was so surprised. It actually really tasted originally like a Bavarian Munich beer. It was delicious and I loved it. It's better than a North German beer, I would say. The North German beer is very bitter, but it's not comparable to a Munich beer. Time to get to the spices. I will use some salt, like 1.5 teaspoons. Then I'll use some cumin, not too much. Next I'm adding paprika. I'm generous with that. Black pepper. Then some coriander. Let's make it like 1/2 teaspoon. And oregano. You could also instead use some marjoram. So I will now season the bottom and the sides of the meat with this. Quite messy. And then I'll put some salt on the top of the roast. Just sprinkle it, and then I rub it a little bit so it also goes into the gaps. Okay. I'm also adding a little bit of honey now to the vegetables. The reason is that the beer, when it's cooking, it tends to turn a little bitter, and the honey removes the bitterness. Or you can also, instead of honey, use some confectioner's sugar. Works well. So both is possible. All right. Now this goes into my casserole. And I've already preheated the oven to 175 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 80 degrees Celsius. Now the meat goes on top of all this with the crust side upwards. And this goes into the oven now for 2 to 2.5 hours. My roast has been in the oven now for a little over 2 hours. The temperature is roughly, I would say 52 degrees Celsius or something like 138 degrees Fahrenheit. I will remove this thermometer for now, and I'm moving the roast from one casserole to another one. And I will put this back into the oven now, and I'm increasing the temperature of the oven to 240 degrees Celsius, which is 465 degrees Fahrenheit. And this will stay now in the oven for about 20 minutes, and in the meantime I will make the sauce. While the roast was in the oven, I prepared some dumplings from bread and some vegetables. Alright, so I will now pour the sauce through a sieve. And since it's so full, I decided to just use a ladle for now. Okay, that should work. Right, let's see. And as you can see, I can touch the casserole, so the temperature in the oven really wasn't very high. Okay, squeeze this a little bit. And just some of it I will throw back into the sauce, so I can work it in with an immersion blender. That's it. And this goes onto the stove, and I will now boil this for the entire time that the roast is in the oven to reduce the sauce and let it thicken. I will then taste it and see if anything needs to be added to it, and then basically this menu is ready to serve. Here is now the crust roast, and yeah, things got a little bit smoky here in the house. I'm glad my smoke detectors didn't alarm. It's a little bit setting here on the bottom. That's okay. You can see clearly here that the crust has like popped. It's very nice. I wish it would be a little bit larger from the squares, but that's due to the very thin skin that this piece of meat had. So if you, for whatever reason, find that some of these squares have not really popped, then you can use one of these torches and just use that on the meat and just, you know, like go over it like this and give it some extra. But in this case, that's not necessary. It looks good. So let me take this out. Now the meat has to set a little bit, so the juices in the meat set, and that's why I'm not cutting it today in the video and not tasting it in the video. I will write something about that in the blog post, but we still have the sauce. So let's take a look at the sauce and see how that tastes. Yeah, so you can see this sauce has reduced quite a bit. I would say it's like half of what it was before. So I will see how that tastes. Absolutely delicious. I don't have to add anything here right now. It's really the way it is right now is perfect. I will leave it the way it is. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button like always, watch some more of my videos, and come back next Saturday when I publish another video. Thanks for watching.